want to talk about what we did at the University of Sydney in relation to accreditation and renovation of our programs. We had a situation that a context was developing around our courses that required us to make some changes because of international competition, changes to the profiles of engineers, things like people working in global companies. And we found that our enrollments were dropping, and what bothered us, I think, most was that students were complaining. So we thought we had a brilliant set of courses, but the students weren't terribly happy. At the same time, Ryan King, who's the CEO of the Council of Engineering Deans of Australia, produced a review of engineering education and came up with a bunch of criteria which looked pretty much like the mandate of CDIO. Do more design, make it authentic, interface with industry, etc., etc. At the time that he did this, he hadn't really heard much about CDIO, but I got into a deep conversation with him and I lent him the book, and the result was a few further comments about how CDIO would help. So these are our degree programs. We have a bunch of undergraduate courses, and they can be combined in double degrees with other courses where you can actually earn 2 degrees in 5 years instead of 7 by double dipping courses. And those are very popular, particularly the commerce combination, because students like to go out and earn lots of money. We had a very nice set of goals, which said that we want to treat the fundamentals and some specialization and offer electives and complete a major capstone project and so on and so forth. And sounded great, really sounded great, but the curriculum was a bit conventional, and as I mentioned, the students were really not at all happy. There's some complaints that we got from our student surveys that they didn't know what it meant to be an engineer, and this wasn't what they expected, and why aren't we designing things, and we'd like to do more projects, and this is so boring, and so on and so on and so on. So we sort of felt, well, oh gosh, relative to some of the other schools, our scores are dropping, students are not happy, maybe we need some renovation. So you see, a point to note here is that students can actually be very powerful change agents. And if you need to mobilize against the administration, sometimes the students are your best friends, and you can make use of them. Just around that time, we had an accreditation visit. And the accreditation body interviews the students. And they listened to what the students said, and they said, yes, we agree with you. You need to renovate your programs. And this is a list of things that the accreditation visit team came up with and said, you need better curriculum design, your quality system is really up to maggots, you're not imparting a decent range of generic attributes, etc. Where's your team projects? Why aren't you doing more design? And by the way, you should have a proper first-year engineering unit, not just have physics, chemistry, and maths and so on in first year. Thereafter, there was a university review, which pretty much echoed exactly what the accreditation guys had said. So again, Peter was spot on. Your own internal university reviews will do as good or better a job than the accreditation team will. So our previous head of school quit at this point and said, this is all too much, goodbye, I'm not going to be head of school anymore. And I was a real mug, and I said, okay, I'll be head of school for the next round, because we do rotations of head of school. So I looked around to see what kind of framework we could adopt in order to renovate our programs. and CDIO looked good, offers all of the above, plus a whole bunch more. First thing we did was come up with a new vision, and there it is. We're trying to make the program more relevant, more associated with industry, to get the students feeling that they're actually earning a degree of some value, and that they can go out and be of value to their employer and to society. And these are all concepts strongly supported by CDIO. So we wanted to strengthen our position for the next accreditation visit. They come every 5 years. So they did come again in 2009. We wanted to build up our industry connections. We nominally had an industry foundation, which was sort of fading away. There were only 3 or 4 members left. We now got 36 members of major companies on our engineering foundation, like IBM and Osgrid and Microsoft and so on and so forth. One of the big problems with electrical and electronic engineering is it has a very strong tendency to be extremely theoretical. If anybody's ever taught electromagnetic theory, you know it's all vector calculus and so on. So it's essential to introduce authentic industry practice through authentic projects. And CDIO provides us with a structure. It provides tools. It provides a network of people to talk to, access to lots of materials, and a decent holistic framework, which I, as head of school, then said, we're going to adopt. You've got to do this. Come on, guys. Let's make sure that the next accreditation visit we get lots of ticks. So you can use accreditation to motivate your department if it's getting a bit old and dusty and so on, to pull its finger out and do a better job. So we listed a bunch of tasks: create a first-year intro to engineering, make the faculty all attend workshops and go on courses and so on. That took some doing, I can assure you. Build up some enthusiasm. Now, one of the best things about having a decent framework within which you can work is that you can actually engender a lot of enthusiasm on the part of your staff. Get them excited, make them feel that they're doing something positive, that they're working with lots of other good people, and generate a really strong positive vibe, as against, you know, everybody feeling bored and tired and this is just grunt work which we're not enjoying. So we went through the whole process, and we've implemented a program. We spent quite a lot of effort on it. For example, we tackled our learning labs. A picture of a new power lab. We got quite a lot of industry support for that from a power distribution company called Osgrid in Australia, and ABB for people who know the power industry. It's Sia Brown Boveri, he's now ABB, makes a lot of the equipment in the lab, etc. We renovated the Capstone Project to make the projects more authentic. We get our industry foundation members to contribute projects and have students working on authentic industry-related projects. All students have to give presentations and then present posters to industry representatives at the open day and earn prizes for the best projects. So we were then getting close to 2009. And we had to prepare for accreditation, which was generate a room full of documents and a thick submission. The two key things we had to do was take CDIO and map them to the local accreditation requirements, the Engineers Australia competency standards and the Engineers Australia graduate attribute requirements. The university has its own attribute requirements, so there was a three-way mapping there between the university, CDIO, and Engineers Australia. And we achieved all the other requirements as well. A holistic program design, good involvement with industry, which like CDIO. I never figured out why, but they seem to. Good quality control. And a really key thing is CDIO forms a strong international benchmark so that you can say that you now have a program which measures up to the best in the world. Okay, and you've got evidence for that. The evidence is in the form of the evaluation, the self-assessment against the CDIO standards. And that's very, very useful. So we did this kind of mapping. There's the graduate attribute mapping from the University of Sydney attributes, the engineers and the Engineers Australia attributes, and the CDIO standards, level 1 and level 2. So we created a spreadsheet with all of these things listed, and we could show that to the accreditation team when they came in 2009. And the result of all of that was some very useful outcomes. The panel said that they're very pleased to see the significant progress we've made, and listed a whole bunch of positives that had come out of it. To me, the strongest positive was that we now have happier students and more enthusiastic staff. So the staff are keen, they like the project work, they like the CDIO approach, they feel that they're doing a better job, and they're getting positive feedback from the students. The positive feedback from the students comes up in the student satisfaction surveys, where the average scores has increased from 3.35 out of 5 in 2003 to 3.94 last year on a scale of 0 to 5. With this averaging process, that change is actually statistically very significant indeed. Even more significant is the fact that the number of variables under 3 has dropped from 14 in 2002 to 0. So nobody's finding anything really bad to say about the courses. They're all saying, hey, this is good, we like it, at least we agree that it's okay, and many of them are giving top scores. We've also noticed our enrollments have turned around. They've dropped to 60 in first year and have risen to just over 100. We're targeting to get them about 150, and then we're going to cut off if we can do that. Now, I'm not saying that CDIO has done this for us, because there's a bit of a worldwide turnaround in engineering enrollments in electrical engineering. But I think that the fact that we can bring school students into decent new labs, we can show the student work that's of a high quality, etc., is of great value to us. So, in conclusion, it was quite a big job. To renovate all the courses cost a lot of my time and quite a lot of time on the rest of the staff, but the results have been really gratifying. And as I mentioned before, have generated a high level of enthusiasm, especially among the younger staff. Now, not all staff have bought in. Some say, I've been teaching for 45 years and my old yellow folder of notes from when I was an undergraduate is still good enough. But the young staff like it. Gives them a framework where they get lots of positive feedback. Now, a comment is that this is an ongoing process. You have to keep up to date. Of course, Engineers Australia is changing their accreditation requirements. They updated them in 2010, so we have to update all our mappings. And of course, you have to keep the lab facilities in good shape and up to date and so on. And that takes a lot of ongoing hard work, but it's really a worthwhile exercise. So in conclusion, I can say that adopting CDIO really helped us improve our position with our staff, with our students, with the accreditation body. So if there's a reason for accreditation. You can use it as a stick to bully your administration into getting you to do the sort of renovation that's sometimes required. Okay, thank you.